about the roundtable. We have been here listening to a lot of speakers and people sharing their experiences, their thoughts on how to bring women forward further. And we have heard about gender action plans, but this roundtable is about trying to get an insight in which actions work and which actions don't. So we will be hearing the experiences from 4 different women. There is one of the speakers, Ramona Mihaela, could not make it, so we are only 4 speakers. And we come from different academic disciplines. We have a professor in economics, pharmaceutical chemistry, and physics, 2 in gender studies, and I'm a molecular biologist. So all in all, I think we can gather experience in a broad series of academic fields. Well, we will then start with our first speaker, who is Marin Jochimsen. And she is the Secretary General of the European Platform of Women Scientists. And she warned me that the paper she's presenting is also authored by Brigitte Mullenbruch, that is also a member of the European Platform of Women Scientists. Even more, she's the president and the founder. So all the thoughts and the contributions that Marin Jochimsen will make are on behalf of the 2 of them. And I think, I'm sorry, you have many more life issues, but I think this will be it. So Marin.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for the very kind introduction. And thank you very much for the chance to present our ideas here at this conference. Maybe one brief correction, because I have been Secretary General of the European Platform of Women Scientists 2005 to 2009. So that was before. The European Platform of Women Scientists now doesn't have an office in Brussels anymore and it's continuing on a voluntary basis. I am still a member of its executive committee, and it's an association of associations of women scientists and organizations fostering the gender equality and equal opportunities in science and research. I would like to address the issue of the cultural barriers that have been cited before, and I'm very happy to be here because in the Istanbul recommendations of 2014, Evora also said that it aimed at taking a holistic approach to the problem, holistic and comprehensive. The title of my abstract originally was Fostering Sustainability Through Strategic Partnership, and it's basically 2 main points I would like to make here. We saw before that although supported by numerous European, national, and institutional initiatives to enhance gender equality in science and research, a lot of progress has been made, or considerable progress has been made. However, achievements are frequently lacking in sustainability, and inequality in academia continues to be an urgent problem, as last day showed, and also today's contributions. The paper will address the situation by putting forward 2 ingredients which we consider key in rendering existing efforts to gender equality and to equal opportunity in science and research more sustainable. One is arguing for the integration of the gender dimension in science and research, and that is needed to provide the cultural basis for all existing efforts. I will go in more detail into it in a minute. The goal behind the integration of the gender dimension, that means paying attention to sex differences and gender effects in the content of research. The main goal there is to make results of research equally meaningful to both genders, by systematically integrating biological differences and similarities, the social role of men and women, as well as gender relations into scientific analysis. Doing so does not only contribute to scientific excellence, it's also an important factor in the reciprocal interchange between science and society. And in the second part, I want to shortly present our initiative Ready for Dialogue that aims for joint effort and a networking and an alliance towards mandatory implementation of the gender dimension in science and research. Maybe for an overview, and I'm very grateful to my colleague Anna for this morning preparing the field by introducing the EU policies in this matter, mentioning the gender dimension in science and research. To understand what I want to share here, I prepared a kind of overview where you can find the different things discussed. Equal opportunities in science and research would be the main goal, and as was already cited yesterday, there are two strategies. One is a strategy for gender equality, another is the integration of the gender dimension in science and research. And if you think of the strategic approaches taken by the European Commission, so on the right-hand side you would have individual measures. That was the Fix the Woman approach. You have structural change and research institutions also being discussed here, that is Fix the Institutions approach. And the gender dimension is labeled Fix the Knowledge approach. Now, commonly in EU documents, and I saw it also on the slides, gender dimension and gender equality come under one heading, namely gender equality. And this is why I used to put up the slide. I find it helpful to conceptually differentiate, to really see that one is working on the numbers and working conditions and career prospects. The other is working on producing the knowledge and the cultural background plus the insights we need to reduce stereotypes, for example, and to really understand what's going on in societies. And we have to target this is our argument, in a separate package because it doesn't come naturally with the gender of a researcher. So the gender dimension is not fixed to neither male or female gender, so having more women in science does not necessarily enhance the gender dimension in science. That's one thing, and it affects most of research. So I put two things here. Research content, that means all research that has human beings as research topics, or human beings or groups of human beings as future users of research results or affected by results, have an interest to question whether or not gender differences exist. For me, it's an open question, but it's important to ask, to then really, based on research results, be able to formulate targeted policies. I also put different realms of actions. That's later on important for the argument. Sometimes it's also, so it's research institutions, it's research funding organizations, it's scientific publishers, it's research politicians, and society that are the realms where this needs to be negotiated and brought further. Because as you know, it's all an integrated process. If you do the most interesting research, you don't find a publisher for it. According to academic logic, it's non-existent or it doesn't have the impact it could have. Same with research funding, that was also tackled by the colleague before. If you want to do interesting research or gender research, you don't have funding institutions going along with it and giving you the money, you will have a much harder time. So this all needs to be needs to work together. And then on the last row, you have the main actors or the stakeholders, which is not only researchers as head of research institutions, that's rectors, that's why I'm here, it's equal opportunity officers, research managers, research funders, journal editors, policymakers, and increasingly citizens if you look at where Horizon 2020 is going. Now, I would like to have a closer look at the gender dimension in this connection. And as I said, to my opinion, the gender dimension is a good source to provide the cultural fundament for a lot of efforts. So the gender dimension plays a role in rendering gender equality measures more sustainable. It is rendering scientific excellence, the same as gendered innovations. An innovation we make that's equally applicable to men and women is much more far-reaching, or has the potential to be much more far-reaching than if it's targeted only to one sex. And increasingly, and that's the line below, it's a very valuable method to engage society more broadly in research and innovation, which is one of the European Commission's main goals right now. Because people are interested in a science that produces results they can use for their lives, and it's the lives of men and women. So if you think of medical research, if we produce results because we only study male groups or young male groups, and we produce results either for heart disease and medicines that are most effective in men, this is not very far-reaching. And you have the reverse effect if you take osteoporosis or depression, generally labeled female gender diseases. We lack a lot of insight into what depression looks like in men, or breast cancer in men, and all these different things. So it's really important we have an insight there. So to us, the gender dimension plays a key role, and I think in the encompassing approach that also Evora is taking, you stress that it's also important there. Because to start an effort to make just the citizen science is part of the third mission of universities that becomes increasingly important. So to reach out to communication with society, and this refers to gender equality because also society wants to be mirrored in the institution. So if we have 50% of women, so where are they? That's one thing, but it also wants to be mirrored in the research content. The last thing I want to present to you is the initiative Ready for Dialogue. This is an initiative we created in 2015 to initiate an alliance or a strategic dialogue among the key players. Remember the last line of my first slide, inside and outside the university, to work together on the integration of science and research. Also to foster the exchange between knowledge and political action, the knowledge you have among the gender researchers and the political actions taken, and to develop a roadmap for the institutionalization of a regular dialogue. We had a conference in November 2015, supported by the German government funds, and we since continue to present our strategic idea and our initiative in different surroundings. So I'm very interested to get into contact with the rectors and the leaders of European scientists and science institutions here to explore in how far we could work together and join forces on that. Well, thank you very much. This is just our two institutions' addresses.
Thank you. Many thanks for keeping your time. Thank you very much. And then we move to the next speaker. The next speaker is Gita Revalde, and Gita has been a deputy rector of Riga Technical University, and currently is also involved in research in the Research and Innovation Strategy Council, and is a corresponding member of the Academy of Sciences of Latvia. So, Gita, if you want to start.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Ulsuna and organizers for inviting me. It's a big pleasure to be here and to discuss all the things. Yes, my presentation. Should I push the button? Oh. Okay. Back. Red is back, yes? No. Okay. Yes, myself, I am physicist. That means I was always minority. Starting from my study years, we were several girls between many men students. And later, I did my PhD in Germany, University of Mainz. And again, I was the only PhD student between 10 or 15 other guys. And nowadays, when I was elected in the Academy of Science of Latvia, again, we are only 2 women in this physics or STEM branch. And also, if we look at other numbers in academia, so there are only few women, so we have this glass ceiling still in universities. However, this is not big priority in Latvian policy area because in general, in Latvia, there are many ladies in power. If we look at administrative public positions, we have 70% ladies. We had lady president, we had lady prime minister, and even speaker of the parliament was a woman. That means people think that everything is okay. We think, Latvian thinks, oh, we are a feminist country because men are less than women in general, and several universities, like universities of pedagogical studies, have very many women and only few men as professors and as students. Therefore, if we speak about recent challenges in higher education, if we see all these actual things, what about people are thinking, for example, structural changes, what we understand under structural changes in higher education, we are speaking about decreasing of number of higher education institutions. We are speaking about internal university level reforms like introducing performance-based funding system, like introducing international study programs. That means we have to speak and teach and learn in English. For example, we speak about internationalization in general. We speak about internal structural reforms, joining, merging institutes, structural units. But there is no place for gender equality questions. It is not priority in universities, and even political agenda, it's not priority, because we think everything is okay. It's a very good situation. And first time when this question came into political agenda at the state level was after joining to EU. So thanks for all who works in European Union, because thanks to you we have this question first time in political level. And we have only one gender equity plan, and it's not made by Minister of Education, it is made by Minister of Welfare. And it's short-term plan for 5 years or 3 years. Because we think everything is okay. Is it? I would say not really, because if we see on these numbers, ministry collect the data, but it's not analyzed. They just collect and put on tables, and that's all. We see that is some years ago that, okay, docents, more or less 50%. And it depends on the university, if it is private or state university. Private universities have different type of recruitment, employment procedure. This will be my point later. But all state universities, bad situation. If we look on women number of professor positions, very bad, only some percent. Now, 2015, situation is improved. We have more percent women in professor position. Researchers about 50, quite good number. If you look on number of rectors, still very few. Only few women rectors. And if you look on private higher education institutions, okay, more or less, but still very few women. So it's not very good picture. Last year, 2016, approximately is the same. Only 4 women rectors from 17 state university rectors. But different picture we have, if you look another type of higher education establishments, we have still in Latvia these short cycle professional, first level professional higher education, called also colleges. There you don't have Senate, you don't have rector elected, different procedure. They are appointed like in public administration. And we see pictures are quite similar like you see in administrative positions in the ministries. The same, good situation, 50%, 60, 70%. That means the problem of higher education is in the structure and in the way how we recruit and employ people there. I mean, these old-fashioned systems of election is the first place where these irrational and biased arguments take place, because you cannot evaluate how the people take decisions by election. They just, I think she is better or he is better. And this is the first place what we have to change if we want to have reform in real sense. And another question, why this question is not so simple? Because in general in society we have predominance of female people, let's say. If we see segregation according different study fields, we see in education it's enormous big percent of women, 90%. It's also not good, it's not balanced. Humanities art, 84 graduates. Social sciences, 75. Only STEM or natural science, 40%. Engineering, less, 30%. But in general, we have graduates, 70% female graduates. So that's also not balanced, the approach. And therefore, I mean, what my rector said, he is, of course, man, professor, engineer. I was vice rector. He said, Riga Technical University is the last bastion of men, he said, because all society, you have so many women in society, we are the last bastion. Yes, and that means there is internal resistance to changes, not only in universities, but also in society. And this resistance is coming also from women's side, because there are only few men, and sometimes they want to push these men in leading positions because it's more comfortable for women to see men as a leader. And this is another problem. I did some survey and asked women rectors, what was the main problems when you were in rector position? And they said, of course, this internal resistance to changes, because they are pursued more critical than the men rectors. I asked, would you have more success in your reforms if you would be a man? They said, yes, of course. The ladies would push me forward, you know. Yes, and some other problems, political influence. All the ladies rectors had some problems with political influence to this, to their job. Sometimes supervising ministries had too authoritative way to introducing reforms. And it is interesting example in Latvia now that the one university who was merged was university led by a new woman rector. That means, who knows, perhaps because she was young in the position, maybe ministry decided it will be more easy to make reform there, you know. We cannot know. So I asked some other questions, interesting questions to the rectors, female rectors. There was not unified view. Some of them said there was no problems. Some of them said there were big problems because I am a woman. Therefore, it's not so simple question. Since I have only 2 minutes, I will come to conclusions. It is quite easy to make good numbers of women in positions, but we have to look in the content, in the quality of this leadership. Do they have problems being leaders? And we see that women leaders have more problems. That means we need special measures to help those females who are in leading positions, not only those who want to be in leading positions. That means we need some courses for stress management, some courses how to deal with these biases, because you need strong psychological knowledge to deal with irrational arguments, because arguments are not rational. I have the feeling that women have more rational arguments sometimes. That's again according to my experience, because my other cooperator major of the city where I was a rector. He was also a man, very strong man, very important man in Latvian policy. He is taking decisions according, did you bring flowers to his birthday or not? So sometimes it's quite difficult. And we have to speak, and we have to educate people about these problems. And one thing, if we want to change something in reality in higher education, first of all, we have to adjust our legislation to take out all these old structures, how we elect in this position people. So we have to change election process, because election process is one where we have these biases. Most of all, we can compare the leading positions in public administration and leading positions in universities. There is big difference because of procedure, how we put the people in these leading positions. And if we want to have better indicators related to gender equality, it's a very simple thing. We can introduce these things in accreditation process. I worked for accreditation long time, 5 years in the body in Latvia and now international level. We have questions about student representation, how many students you have in Senate, in decision-making bodies. It's very simple, just add 3 or 4 questions, how many women you have in decision-making bodies. And here you don't need big changes in legislation. Here we can do this through Bologna process or through this ENQA system in Europe. It's very simple to introduce these questions in accreditation process. It's the first step, because nobody now is asking how many women professors you have at the university. Yeah, but it still will take a very long time, because people are not rational, people are emotional, and therefore it's very good that we meet every second year or in these conferences, and we have to speak about this. This is the first. Keep speaking. Thank you very much.
Hello, thank you everybody to be here, and to Carmen for the kind presentation. I would like to talk about my project, a project with me that we are doing with my colleagues. You have some leaflet spread around the chairs if you want to know more about this project, which involves quantitative and qualitative data. But I give you today a picture about the qualitative data, about this third objective, where we carry out 10 case studies regarding diverse environments: arts, humanities, health, STEAM areas, social science, biological science, etc. And we try to do also select diverse centers and universities across different Spanish regions. So I would like to present you not the methodology that you can check in my presentation after the conference, the organization put in the website, but I would like to reflect more or less different models of research depending on different cultures and different contexts. For example, we find research center, different research center with public and private performance organizations. Some of them, they are highly competitive and very internationalized. In the public research center, there are high percentage of permanent jobs, but the private research centers, especially if they are for excellence oriented, they are not involved with permanent job, but IP model that someone talked yesterday in a conference, and there is very negative for women who are in these environments, because women are in the corner of the research thing. unless they are the principal investigator, which is not the most usual. And another thing important is the self-management of careers. That is not only for the research center. It's more and more we need to research doing our self-management career. And previously we do research in one or two of host institution with certain security in our job. But now it's more uncertain, and maybe is for the future also. In the university, there are also a great diversity, depending on the research. If researchers are research-oriented or teaching-oriented. And now, at least in Spain, university departments, there are a high number of permanent jobs, but there is a very, very precariousness in the labor conditions. And finally, R&D enterprises, as said the speaker before, there is profitability is the aim. The research is oriented to client demands, and the patents are preferred to the publication. Publication is not so important than in research center or university. And corporate cultures is outlined research careers and job security. So in Spain, the situation Anna Puy talked before, the gender gap is in the recruitment of the female leaders points out to the labor market dynamics, the life course, of course, but also the friendly or unfriendly climate departments and the implicit biases that we told before. Because of homosociality, women are excluded of making decision processes, hold low participation in research, scientific management networks, and power decision structures. We checked this data in the survey in this project. But also, they feel discouraged to apply to senior position, also exhibit ambition, and take part of the power decision bodies. We showed some examples of that. Despite equality policy, women experience discrimination, misrecognition, and misogyny in collective decision. They receive negative message about their role in research performance, what eventually interrupt or without their aspiration to pursue a successful career. And finally, it locates women in the margin. So, but women, there are also good news. Women have incorporated in academia because of enlargement of the R&D system. The meritocracy improves the opportunity of women, although they lack of support in the departments. But there are some kind of network, because yesterday we talked about the meritocracy and the network, like the meritocracy is not related with the network. Yes. Our results said that there are both involved. It's not independent, but meritocracy means some advantage for women. There are diverse models of support, and we have many discussions about that. All boys club, mentors, consecration circuit, this self-management careers in a specific center of research or in a specific context of research. And none of them are for women, except mentoring program oriented to recruitment of women. Decision-making models is based on different things, stereotypes, of course, from the subjectivity of the people involved in the decision bodies, also objective and neutral criteria, and also blind to gender. We need to clarify what is every element, because even people that are involved in these evaluation bodies or in European projects with this kind of criteria are confused about what meaning, what is every kind of model. And I talk from mentoring to dangerous liaison. Specifically, I talk about colleagues, but also partners, because dual career are really usual. And I show you some findings from our qualitative research related to leadership. For example, this woman, which is a group leader in a biology research center, she said, I tell you, sadly, with great affliction, we said in Spanish, because I have loved John is invented name, very much. He is the director of the research center. We have built this center together, and we have lived not only as colleagues, but as very close friends. And we are together in a hard situation in his life, in the department life, the research center life. Said, but just at the moment that he took the direction, he suddenly surrounding himself with a Praetorian guard of men, even if they are women on the board, such as Laura, who is one of the board and attends meetings. In fact, they don't make important decisions around the table. They make them after the football match, which women are not invited in the locker room. And how women feel in the departments? Isolation, self-confidence, peer recognition. Because you have to put your self-esteem. It's very elitist word, because it is a matter of personal worth. If I am really valuable or not, it is worth it or not. I think that another problem, said another woman, is that they don't trust our job, work. They don't think it is worth it enough, of course. They think I am just for decoration. No, I would like to do something interesting. So merits in the departments, they're one thing, but the merits scientifically profitable is another different thing. So they said, once they sent me to do something that, no doubt, nobody wanted to do. I mean, it is what they do with the women here, isn't it? Those things that men don't want to do. It's not very good way, because, for example, these women do transfer of knowledge, and after that, they became more important. So male researchers was in the disadvantageous situation in the department, but they said that. Women like it to work with people, but dislike managing research group or managing tasks. One woman, senior woman, said, my first ambition is to teach, that my students feel happy and understand my classes. My second ambition in research is that something that I am researching will be helpful to technical development or helpful to patients. And that's why I dismiss the power. Management and power don't interest me. It implies time and politics. Many interests, individual interests, it doesn't interest me at all. So there is a power in capital letters and a power in lowercase. Women are selected by men to do trivial things, but the power in capital letters involves men. For example, I asked to another woman, why don't you think they don't select you for the appointment? And she said, because it is very political, and I am very clear. They don't like it. On the one hand, I'm not good at politics. I'm not good at cheating or lying or anything like that. So I think that they know my character, and they think I can do a miss. And who select women? For example, this woman warning about one practice. Jaime, who is a friend of mine, has recommended another college, a man, instead of me. And women recruiting another women. Past week, they offered me a position. I have said yes. And I asked, who was a man or a woman, and she said it was a woman. So I ran out my time, but we have in the presentation what is in the recommendation and the final reflection of my work. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. We go then to our last presentation of this roundtable. And the presenter, the speaker, is Maria Luisa Tenhionen. Maria Luisa, she is an expert professor in business administration. And she has been the president and the founder of the Central University of Applied Sciences for 17 years. And she is now interested in global strategic management at the small and medium-sized enterprises. Marcia?
Dear Chairman, thank you very much for your presentation, ladies and gentlemen, and also, dear Kulsun, thank you very much for your invitation again to this conference. So, actually, I have written an article for this presentation, and later on I will publish it. And the main question, how to create functional strategy at the university, and I have combined there how is a good strategy and also the female leadership and higher education. So this article and presentation is based on Finnish higher education organizations. So I have used the newest research concerning strategic management and also women leadership. I have read all Finnish university strategies and which are published. And because the strategy should be published, and I have read them, and then I have interviewed 4 persons. Two surprises. No sentence in Finnish higher education strategies about gender equality. Nothing. No sentence, maybe hidden words, but no clear sentence or mentioning that that higher education institution, the purpose is gender equality. That was very sad thing. Second was that in many higher education organizations, they have a very strong business education and technical education. And as Mr. Leopold told about business life and industry, the strategies are not very good. They are very quiet, not very attractive, and they don't give the vision for the staff of higher education organization where to go and how. So thinking about theoretical about the strategy, it should include mission, vision, values, strategic goals and objectives, which mean also strategic business areas. I have taken it from a business administration, but my opinion is that we can apply it also in higher education. Higher education organization cannot be a department store. There should be very strong core competencies. Our organization offers that and that education and research, and our aim should be to be world-class organization in some areas, not lower, not middle level, but the best in the world in some area. Decision of final strategy document should be done in the board of higher education organization, and then implementation. Finland is very clever country to write articles and strategies, and we have full of papers, but implementation is very poor. That is so important that the implementation and follow-up is done very, very well. And how is good strategy? It is attractive, that is easy to read, and that is a rolling system updated every year, telling the direction to everybody. I tell one case. Once one researcher called to Nokia company's one secretary, the middle-level person, lady, and asked, may I ask what are the values of Nokia company? And the lady could answer. So the staff knows the main things of the strategy that is not lying only there in some table. And what is another thing? Again, Mr. Leopold told about robotics and how the world is changing. Can we change our strategy every year? And or is that only very stable? We changed a little bit and not so much. How to respond quickly to the demands of the changing world? So, as I mentioned, that is a yearly process, and that is a rolling system. Normally we updated the strategy on the same time as we do budget and annual plan. We check together all the staff, also students and leading persons the strategy, and it's going to board. And discussion with industry stakeholders. That is point I wish we female presidents could have in the future more and more with industry and business life, because I think we could learn from that area many things also for leading and strategies. I found Lucy Marcus has mentioned some things which we should support for female students. They are basic skills, international exposure, mentoring, mentioned several times during these 2 days, role models, and starting early. Starting early means that we should support these students early enough, not when they are masters or nearby doctors. Please stay at university and start your research area. And young women need our support everywhere, if they are academics, scientists, entrepreneurs or artists. So my mind is that there are some characteristics of successful people, and my mind is that they are such as motivation, natural curiosity, courage, self-management, enjoying being stretched and rising to a challenge, to like challenges, personal will, and fortitude, drive, and flexibility. But there could be also many other characteristics. Higher education in Finland, because that is nearby everything we own. We have higher education, that is our richdom, and that is we would like to continue to develop. 2 phases of reforms. One happened around 1990. That was time Finland planned to become a European Union member, and we have several levels of college education. We established universities of applied sciences, those polytechnics, and they were over 30 I was the first president of one university of applied sciences and only woman that time in the group of over 30 men. And then that was very good time. Then second phase has been started around 2010. And that first case was Aalto University, which combined technology education, business education and art. That has been very successful story. 7 years has been a lady from STEM area, president. It took 7 years after Tampere 3 started, we heard yesterday. Now Lahti is third one and Lapland, and then I tell 2 cases of female leadership. So what is the point? The point is that the binary system in Finland has nearby gone. No more universities of applied sciences and clear universities. They are merging more or less together because that University of Applied Sciences, that is not so attractive in the Finnish mind as it should be. So that is happening in Lahti. They are trying to get university education more. Lahti city would like to be university city. And also in Lapland, they are merging organizations together, and again, they want to be more competitive, and in Lapland, they would like to be more at Arctic regions research area where Russia and US are also working, and our country is German. So the figures in Finland are not very good. If you look at the universities, there are only 3 female presidents, and universities of applied sciences, there are 4. And 2 ladies I would like mention. Mrs. Aino Sallinen was the first female president in Finnish universities, stayed 20 years and made very successful work. Also, I would like to mention myself because that was very hard time, but very good time, and I'm very proud I could create a new organization. Strategies, that is my wish for this Evora organization. Let's combine more to business life and industry to create better strategies for higher education. So, and once again, that binary system is going partly down, and we are concentrating more bigger higher education organizations to be world-class higher educator in the future. And the opposite organizations are labor unions, both professors, staff and students. That is not so easy to get new decisions in higher education. And now, conclusion, last one, this month, Ministry of Education has decided a group of Finnish technology education to establish in Turku area, where is very important car industry and ferryboat industry to offer workers, experts for this industry. Here are the stars, blue are the cases, and red are women leadership cases. Thank you very much.